Manishina is basically those sages who classify in this category of devotees also. Okay. Now, what have they done? They have been able to meaning reach Padam Gacchantya. Padam meaning destination, position, and Gacchanti meaning once you go there, that place is Anamayam. That means it is a place which does not have any kind of distress, any sad event does not happen, any misery is not there. Okay, so they reach that position. Phalam tyaktva manishina. So how do they do that, or how do they achieve? They achieve by phalam tyaktva. So phalam is result. Tyaktva is to give up. So because they give up the result, that's why these sages or devotees, they have been able to reach to the destination Padam Gacchante Namayam, where there is no misery. And because of that, they have been able to Janma Bandha Vinirmuktaha. They have been able to get free from the cycle Vinirmukta, the bandha of Janma and Mrityu. They are not bound to the cycle of birth and death. Okay, this is the kind of a crux of the verse. Okay, now this verse is basically now talking about some place. This is the first verse where Krishna is talking about some place which is different from the earthly planet or heavenly planet. Okay, so if you remember, Krishna had mentioned about heavenly planets in some of the previous verses, right? But he did not mention that heavenly planet is the ultimate goal. And because heavenly planets are not the ultimate goal, that's why Krishna mentioned that do not look at profit and loss when you perform your action. See, let's look at all of these points in a logical manner. Krishna mentioned that you will not be able to go to heavenly planet in the earlier few verses. Then he mentioned that you should not look at profit and loss and success and failure when you take a decision whether to perform or not to perform an action. Then he mentioned that these are abominable activities, to perform an activity based on the result of an activity. So, which means that because these activities give us the heavenly planets and this activity in itself is incorrect, that means going to heavenly planet is also incorrect. That is not desirable. Which means earthly planet, hellish planet, as what Arjun mentioned in the first chapter, Narake Niyatam Vaso. So Arjun knew that there are hellish planets. Arjun is already residing on earth, so he is aware of earthly planet. Arjun himself had been to heaven also, okay, where he met Indradev, where he met Urvashi also, and based on that, he also learned so many new weapons, everything. So he has been there. So he is aware that heavenly planets exist, earth exists, and hellish planet exist. But he also knows that these planets are not Padam Gacchantya Namayam. These planets are not destinations where you can avoid miseries. So now it is very much obvious that Krishna is referring to some planet which is outside these three, beyond these three. And this is the first place which Krishna mentions something like a fourth planet, which we will understand as we progress. Which one is he referring to? What is he referring to? Okay. Any question around this? No?
No, bro.
Okay, fine. So let's move on to the next verse. Jitu Prabhu, Garima Mataji, any question? Deepak Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. ठीक. We
All
can.
clear, Prabhuji.
Okay, let's move on. Verse 52. Yada te moha kalilam
यदा ते मोह कलिलं
Kalitam.
buddhirvyati tarishyati
बुद्धिर्व्यतीतरस्थितिः
बुद्धि व्यति तरिष्यति
तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदम्
तदा
तदा
गन्तासि
गन्तासि
निर्वेदम्
निर्वेदम्
श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च.
सर्वस्य श्रुतस्य
श्रव्यस्य
च
श्रुतस्य च.
Anybody can read translation?
Hare Krishna. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
So now two, three things are coming out of this one. Okay. He is referring to some thought process that is there in Arjuna's mind, and he's calling that as dense forest of delusion. What do you think is he referring to here? Anybody? Just try to link it with the previous few verses that we have learned so far. कोई नहीं बात करेगा? What do you think is he referring to? What all concepts has Krishna taught him so far? Or other way you look at it, what all concepts has Arjun spoken about so far? Because of which Krishna is saying that your intelligence is currently in the dense forest of delusion. So what do you think is he referring to?
The path and the punya that he was
Fantastic.
talking about.
Yes, yes, fantastic. Excellent. That's precisely what Krishna is referring to. So he is talking about the karma kanda aspect. So what was Arjun thinking of, that if I perform this activity, I will be killing people. That will cause me sinful reactions. It will cause destruction of families and traditions. I will not be able to enjoy. I will have to go to hellish planets and suffer there for an eternal lifetime or something like that, right? And all this knowledge that he has derived has caused him some kind of delusion in terms of understanding about the proper shastra, and that is what Krishna is calling it as dense forest. So the karma kanda section of Vedas, they describe the various benefits, the various pleasures that one can derive either on earth or on heaven, and they describe it so beautifully that you will get attracted to it and you will want to possess it. For example, let's say if somebody comes to you and let's say a new movie has been released and that person describes that movie so well. Array, this hero has done this and this joke and that joke and the fight scenes are this and that, everything. So if for 10-15 minutes he nicely describes you, what will happen? Automatically you will also feel like going and watching the movie, right? Right. So the same concept is being applied by Vedas also. So the Vedas speak about various pleasures and they describe that pleasures beautifully. And then they also mention what kind of yajna and tapasya or fasting or whatever it is that needs to be done to achieve that particular pleasure. And then it becomes obvious that I am attracted to that pleasure and I know how to get it. So I will want to perform that yajna and puja and whatever it is, and then I would want to enjoy that pleasure. So now, in such a scenario, the intelligence is unable to think beyond the pleasure and beyond the mode of obtaining the pleasure. So Krishna is saying that you are currently thinking at this particular level, the level of enjoyment at a bodily level, at a material level. You are not thinking from the perspective of performing action for the sake of performing your duty, because of which he is saying it, you are under some kind of delusion, and that delusion Krishna is saying is like a dense forest. So he's saying only when your intelligence passes through that dense forest completely and comes out of it, then there will be some positive change. Okay, we will talk about that being indifferent wala point. We will talk about it. Now let's take one small example. Okay. Um, let's say uh, we go to Amazon forests. Okay. Let's say a group of 25 people go to Amazon forests, and there is a 10-year-old child, okay, who loses the way. And uh, it's a very difficult situation for that child. The child is inconsolably crying continuously. Okay, he cannot see his parents nor anybody in the group. There is dense forest. The trees are very close. The sunshine is not able to reach to the ground. It's darkness all over. He can see some wild animals or hear wild animals also, and that child is inconsolably crying. What is the alternative, or how can the child come out of this situation? What do you think? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, I'm finding it a bit difficult to extract
Prabhu,
answers from you.
Prabhu, of course, if someone come looking out for the child,
Okay,
Um,
fine.
it's- the only answer that I can think of is Nam, as in the jap or bhakti. Remember your God, God will come
वो
to
तो 10 साल
rescue
का
you.
बच्चा है, उसको तो ये सब पता भी नहीं होगा, राइट?
डिपेंड करता है उसके माँ बाप ने उसको कितना सिखाया.
हाँ, बात सही है, but let's assume he is like an ordinary child. So, so either somebody teaches the child, as you said, that this is the way out if you get lost. Maybe this is the compass or some GPS kind of system, and you will be able to come out. That could be one. Or as Dijit Prabhu said, there should be somebody who can reach out to that child and then uh, take him out of the jungle. Now, when you apply this example in the spiritual life, who do you think is this person?
Us, us,
Jivastu.
Sorry, the
hum,
the
hum,
child the child who is crying is we,
us.
right?
Yeah.
Us. And then the person who comes and rescues that child, who is that person?
Krishna.
Guru.
Is
Guru.
Guru.
Exactly. So this example can be understood from another perspective, that when you have millions and millions of verses of Shastra, okay, so we have Bhagavad Gita of 700 verses, we have Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses, we have Ramayan, which originally was of more than 10 million verses. Yeah, then it came down, and after various incidents, um, it has come to only 24,000 verses. Uh, ये I think इसमें है, I forgot in the 12th canto. I don't remember. In the 12th canto, there is a section where, see, this one, yeah. The Brahma Puran contains 10,000 verses. The Padma Puran contains 55,000. Vishnu Puran contains 23,000. Shiva Puran contains 24,000. Bhagavatam contains 18,000. Narad Puran 25,000. Markandeya Puran 9,000. Agni Puran 15,400. Bhavishya Puran 14,500. Brahma Vaivurta Puran 18,000. Linga Puran 11,000. Varaha Puran 24,000. Skanda Puran 81,100. Vaman Puran 10,000. Karma Puran 17,000. Matsya Puran 14,000, Garud Puran 19,000, Brahmanda Puran 12,000. Total number of verses in all the Purans is 400,000. Now, when did we start our Bhagavad Gita class? Anybody remembers? Nahi? So approximately November last year we started. It's almost 1 year. How many verses have we completed so far? Almost 100 verses.
100 के आसपास होगा.
Yeah. So almost 51, 52 ho gaya and 46 of the first chapter, almost 100 verses. So it took us to go into proper depth. And if we look at, do you remember all these 100 verses learnt so far? Definitely no. Do you remember the concept taught? Maybe yes, maybe no. So 100 verses took us 1 year. Can you imagine 400,000 verses ko kitna time lagega? And these are only Purana. Okay. We have not talked about Upanishads. We have not talked about Vedas. We have not talked about Mahabharata. We have not talked about Ramayana. We have not talked about other itihas also. We have not talked about the charitra of the other great devotees also. So do you think practically one lifetime will be sufficient for you to read all of these verses and understand it also? Impossible, right?
Prabhu, Nityam Bhagavad Sevya is
Ah,
going on for 12, 13 years, right?
yes, I
And
remember.
we reached to 11th canto only so far.
Yeah. And that's happening on a daily basis,
That's a
despite
daily
that.
basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to communicate is the Shastra is like a dense forest. It's not a dense forest of delusion, definitely, but it's a dense forest. Now, Guru is the one who is able to take the conclusion out of it and able to teach us. Okay. So, Guru, it is said without Guru, you will never be able to achieve the final destination. Okay. And it's very important that we learn Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam by the blessings of a Guru. So it's very important to get initiated in a parampara and learn, basically accept a Guru, and then our spiritual journey will march forward very rapidly. Now let's look at this point, what he was mentioned here. All that you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. What do you mean? What do you understand out of this statement? No?
This is about realization, Prabhu. Like, once we understand, uh, based on this intelligence, basically, when we understand the purpose of life, then
Yeah.
a whole vision will be changed about life. Or I don't know, we will get a bigger purpose or bigger objective, right?
Okay. Okay. So anybody
Maybe we
else?
can close to, maybe we will be able to close to the God.
Okay. So what happens
I
is, yeah, please, Garimati, please.
no, it's okay. We continue. I think there are many perspectives to what being indifferent to all that is being heard or that we've been told. Like in this, I mean, like in the sense, very simple, the same example. Like if we do something, we've heard that we get the money out of it. We do a task, we perform a task, and we get the money out of it. So we have to become indifferent to this thought also, that it is not necessary that if we perform a task we will get the money. So
Correct.
like this it can be taken to like n number of examples of attachment towards our family, towards money, to what all that binds us in the cycle of life and death.
Correct. So basically, what has happened so far, if you look at it, what has our society taught us? Let's hear from all of you individually. Prior to starting to learn Bhagavad Gita, what was your idea about Punya Karma? What was your idea about praying to some god? What was your idea about visiting a temple? Can you all start, speak about it one by one?
For
Yeah,
me,
Prabhuji.
punya karma means, sorry.
Go ahead,
So for
Prabhu. Go
me,
ahead.
punya karma means to help other person
Huh,
in their need,
huh. And why would you do that?
to get punya.
And why would you want punya?
So that okay, why you need punya?
So basically, some repayment can happen back to you because of the good activities you have conducted.
Yes, agree.
Correct?
Yeah, yeah.
There is
Okay.
a self-interest, Prabhu, in every
Yes,
Yes.
correct. Yeah. And when you used to go to a temple, what was your thought process?
Basically, fear, Prabhu.
Business.
Very
Business.
valid point. Yeah. Fear definitely is there. Correct. And what else?
Give me this, give me that. Business.
Yeah,
I give you this much, you give me that much.
correct. So I will give you some flowers and some sweets. You give me
Yeah,
BMWs
agree.
and Mercedes and bungalows.
Yeah, fulfill
Yeah.
our dreams. Yeah.
Yes, correct. So, Jijit Prabhu, any addition from your side?
Oh, yeah, of course, Prabhu. Just like everyone mentioned, we also pray for family for their good health,
Yeah,
um, good wealth, well-being, everything in general, happiness.
correct. But if you summarize all of this, everything was revolving around the body, your body, right? You would
Right.
never ask a BMW and Mercedes for your neighbor, right? You will only ask for yourself. You will only ask a promotion, increment, good bank balance, lottery ticket, whatever it is, but for yourself or your family or your relatives or somebody related to you bodily, right? And God was being treated as a order supplier. That yes, Mr. God, I, the greatest person on earth, have come to visit you. Yeah, you should be very glad that I have come to visit you. Now I am giving you a donation of 5 dirhams, 10 dirhams. Please ensure that before I reach home, 5 bungalows and 10 Mercedes are waiting outside for me. Right? This was a kind of a expectation. Right? Now, what do you think? Has your perspective changed? If not fully, at least to a certain small extent, at least.
Definitely, Prabhu.
Yeah, agree.
Yes.
Definitely. Yes.
So now you are able to link the benefits that you get in your life or the reactions that you get in your life, the good or bad result, is not uh, incidental. It's not accidentally that comes to you. It has some meaning behind it, right? It is coming because of our previous karma. We don't treat now God as somebody whom you can go and order, and he, as your servant, will fulfill your wish, right? We now understand that punya karma is something which is, if not more, but definitely equally as bad as papa karma. Do you, as a group, do you all agree?
If
Anybody has any other opinion?
yeah, if done with a selfish motive.
Yes,
I mean,
correct. So punya karma is always with a selfish motive.
yeah, correct.
What about you, Deepak Prabhu? Do you think that learning until this section of Bhagavad Gita, the perception has changed?
Yeah, Prabhu, means like we just said always we do good things so that we get a benefit out of it for ourselves, right? But like especially for Janam Karmanyeva Adhikaraste, and then when we read all this, then I learned it's not always about getting benefit out of it, right? Whatever life's karma, past karma, many things are beyond our control. It will, whatever bound to happen, it will happen. And we have to be basically tolerant to many situations. There is a very limit thing we can do about it.
Correct,
But for future, yes, we can take care now, right?
correct,
Because past we cannot change. Whatever happened, happened. And instead of focusing on the end result always, we can focus on the performing our right duties, right?
correct, correct. Jijit Prabhu, you think this is a fair statement?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
completely agree with Deepak Prabhu.
Okay, great, fine. So this is basically what it means, that what you have heard so far and what you will hear tomorrow. Yeah. So we need to understand that over a period of all of these 700 verses, Bhagavad Gita is going to change many of the misconceptions or eradicate many of the misconceptions. They Whatever society has taught us so far was from a material perspective, was from a bodily perspective. Bhagavad Gita will raise you from the bodily level to the level of the soul. Your thought process will rise to the level of the soul. And this shaping of this one requires Bhagavad Gita to remove many of our misconceptions, which it will do. Okay, at least for within the first 4 5 chapters, it will do that. Then when it comes to Bhakti Yoga, we will understand that at a different plane, a different level, Bhagavad Gita takes us. Okay, so we will just do one more verse, and that will mark the end of the logical section of second chapter. Okay, and after this, Arjun asks one question in verse number 54, and he asks 4 questions. In fact, in just one single verse, he asks 4 questions, and all those 4 have been answered from verse number 55 till 72, which is the last verse of Bhagavad Gita. And during this 18 verses, there are many famous verses which many of you may have already heard of. We will be covering that. Hmm. And some of these verses are like you can do even PhD on those topics and those verses. So let's quickly look at this verse. Shruti vi pratipannate
Shruti
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 vipratipanate
pratipannate
yada sthasyati nischala
yada
yadasyati
shastyati
nischala
nischala
samadhavachala buddhis
samadhavachala
avadhavachala
buddhi
buddhi
तदा योगमवाप्स्यसि.
tada
tada
yogam
yogamavapsasi.
avapsyasi.
Translation. Who's
Hare,
reading?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Hare
Good.
Krishna.
So now we understand by Krishna mentioning Shruti, by the flowery language of Vedas. Okay. Now there are 2 branches in the Vedic scriptures called as Shruti and Smruti. Okay, so the Vedas come under Shruti, and under the Smrutis come Puran, Itihas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and all that. Upanishads I come under Shruti. Upanishads, basically at a history level, there was only one single Veda. Okay, Vyasdev, who is an incarnation of Krishna himself, Vyas Rishi, you might have heard of. Vyas Rishi, he came down, and the first task that was given to him was to break Vedas into 4. That's why one single Veda was broken into Rig Ved, Samved, Yajurved, and Atharva Ved. Then, and this was done because the knowledge level and intelligence level of people was gradually decreasing. So people were finding it very difficult to understand Vedas. That's why it was broken down in 4 Vedas. Then people found that also very difficult to understand. That's why 4 Vedas were then broken down into 108 Upanishads. And people find it that as well difficult to understand. That is where Itihasas come into picture, Ramayana and Mahabharata. So Ramayana and Mahabharata are like an enactment of our theory, how to lead the life and how not to lead the life, what are the consequences of leading it in the right manner or leading it in the wrong manner. This is taught by the scriptures Ramayana and Mahabharata, when the Lord himself comes down and acts according to the scriptures. So that because we are not so intelligent people, we may not understand the theory by itself. That's why when the theory is implemented in a practical manner, and when we see some incident by ourselves, we are able to understand it better. That's why Ramayana and Mahabharata was created. In Ramayana, there were many principles, many teachings which were not verbally taught, which were understood by people by observing the behavior of the heroes like Ram, Lakshman, Sita, Hanuman, and everybody. But that level of observation further decreased, and in Kali Yuga, we cannot even understand when people speak also, let alone observing them. So for such people, Mahabharata was enacted. So Mahabharata was like a drama which was created specifically for the people in Kali Yuga so that people can understand what is supposed to be done and what is not supposed to be done. Pap and Punya and Bhakti and everything was nicely mentioned, and the Lord himself came down to teach this to us. And that also people now find it very difficult to understand. Okay, so this is our current stage. So Bhagavad Gita was taught to Arjun by Krishna in just 1.5, 2 hours period. For us, it takes years and years and years, and still we find it difficult. So Bhagavatam is even more difficult. Yeah. So it's not simple, but we have to do it. So what the Lord is saying that don't get disturbed by the flowery language of Vedas. Okay, these are teaching you sacrifices which are performed for the sake of material benefit. Your mind should not get disturbed by it. When the mind is no longer disturbed and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained divine consciousness. So the path towards bhakti, the path towards spiritual journey, the progress is only possible if you take away your mind from material benefits and bring it to the path of spiritual progress. Right? Have you ever walked backwards? Yeah, everybody must have done it, right? So we know how difficult it is. So if you keep your sight on material benefits, but if you assume that you are walking towards spiritual progress, that is something which practically doesn't work out. So that is where gradually we have to stop working for the body, for the sense gratificatory activity, and perform bhakti. It is a long journey, but it is to be started at some point or the other. Only then we can start walking towards Krishna. And that is what Krishna is referring to as divine consciousness. Is that clear? Or are you confused more than what you were confused until the class started?
No, Prabhu.
So from tomorrow onwards or from today onwards, will you stop working for the body?
Trying, Prabhu.
No, it is not
No,
simple.
no, that is not what it's saying.
No, it is not simple. So body के लिए काम करना गलत नहीं है, but the point is to assume that body is the whole and soul and सिर्फ body के लिए काम करना more than what is necessary, that is wrong. So we will learn over a period of time. Yeah. So from next week, Arjuna's questions we will see, and we will see Krishna's answers for the first two questions. Okay. And अभी ना मैं थोड़ा fast जाऊंगा मैं, and because these concepts are difficult to understand, some of them are not practical also, and some of them are not practical to be implemented in your life. Okay, and we can try to reach faster to the Bhakti Yoga section. If
Prabhuji,
you
we will not take. Sorry.
हाँ
You
बोलो,
finish first. No,
नहीं
no,
नहीं
you
बोलो
finish.
बोलो.
We'll not take up the purport. I was just reading it. It has a more deeper and
Yes, definitely.
nice meaning to what we just read.
Yes, definitely. We should read. But मजा क्या होता है कि I expect generally that people should come a little prepared for the class. And this is something I wanted to speak about anyway. So I'll take just 1 or 2 minutes of yours. In my other classes, okay, um, uh, we are in my Wednesday class. I am in the ninth chapter now, and people there, they are allocated verses, one verse per person, and they prepare themselves for that verse, and then they speak about it, and if there is anything to be added further, then I add it. हम लोग ऐसा करते हैं. That format is being used, and they appreciate that format, and they have mentioned that they are able to learn more because they are able to prepare and speak about it as well. But अभी हाँ हो क्या रहा है, I'm finding it difficult to implement this format in this class because unfortunately, very sorry to say, but all of you are unable to remember what happened in the previous class also. Forget what was discussed, you find it difficult to remember which verses were spoken. So to introduce a new format, I think it would be difficult. If you think that you can do it, then when you prepare, I would expect you to read the purport also and then prepare yourself. Do you think you will be able to do it? Shall we take it up, or do you think no, not possible?
We
आपने
should
तो भाग भाग नहीं जाओगे ना क्लास से, अरे यार प्रिपेयर नहीं हो गया तो मैं नहीं जाऊंगा करके.
we'll try, Prabhu.
Okay, Deepak Prabhu, are you okay? Because many
Yes,
of you
Prabhu.
must be busy in your office also, finding it very difficult to spare this 1 hour also for the class. प्रिपेयर आप कर पाओगे तो वेल एंड गुड, वी आर आई एम मोर देन हैप्पी. अगर आपको लगता है डिफिकल्ट है तो बता देना. गरिमा जी, व्हाट डू यू थिंक?
I think it'll be a very interesting idea. We had discussed this at the very beginning of the class to get
करेक्ट.
everybody's perspective.
या
Um,
Jitu Prabhu, are you okay to prepare for one verse? It doesn't matter how much you prepare, even if you try to spend some quality time to learn, it's still a good progress, good start at least.
Sure, we can try for this. Yeah. It's a good approach. We can try.
Okay. If सिर्फ एक ही request है, even if you are unable to spend any time, if you are unable to prepare, still don't bunk the class. There have been cases in my other class wherein people have told प्रभु जी मैं आज class attend नहीं करूंगा, कुछ personal काम है. Then when I asked them, please honestly tell me why, तो उसने बोला कि भाई prepare हुआ नहीं है करके. तो वैसा मत करो. It's okay even if you are unable to prepare, even after the work was allocated, I will cover up for the verse, but please do attend the class. तो हम लोग एक काम करेंगे, विल नॉट डू इट फॉर सेकंड चैप्टर, हम लोग थर्ड चैप्टर से स्टार्ट करते हैं.
no,
इज
no,
दैट
we'll
ओके?
do for this also. It's very interesting topic. Why do we let it go? I'm feeling bad
अच्छा,
that we are leaving the purport today also.
ओके, ठीक है. तो लेट्स डू वन थिंग, लेट्स डू वन थिंग. So 54 verse number, 54, 55, 56 and 57, चार verses we can take up in the next class. So shall I allocate one verse to each of you?
जी प्रभु जी
Yes,
lottery.
Prabhu.
हाँ, चलो ठीक है, लेट्स डू. जिदू प्रभु चलेगा ना?
Yes, sure, Prabhu. That's
ओके,
fine.
जीजित प्रभु.
Yes, Prabhu.
ओके, थैंक यू. तो ठीक है, so thanks a lot. Let's meet next week. I'll put up the allocation of verses in the group itself. Okay?
Yeah, and can we take today's purport again in the class?
Yeah,
The one
जरूर
which
जरूर
we use.
जरूर. Which verse are you referring to?
The last one which we just did the translation for.
Okay, ठीक है. प्रभु जी आप प्लीज म्यूट करो जरा. दीपक प्रभु जी. हाँ.
Yes, Prabhu. Sorry.
हाँ. So ठीक है. Let's do that in the next class then. ये वाला करते हैं purport.
Thank you.
चलो, थैंक यू. Hare Krishna. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna, Prabhu. Thank
Let's
you.
meet
Hare
next
Krishna,
week.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Latika
Hare
Mataji, Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. I couldn't hear
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Uh,
Krishna.
may I know how did you join